Welcome back. Now, the South African Democratic Teachers Union is currently preparing to hold its National General Council next month. The council will, among other things, deliberate on the lack of proper infrastructure as well as overcrowding in classrooms. So for more on this, we're now joined by Sadtu Deputy General Secretary, that's Nkosana Dolopi. Nkosana, thank you for your time and good morning to you. I've just given a tease of what will be on your agenda, but what will be of priority when you once again as Sadtu gather and meet for this meeting?
Good morning and thanks for having us. Look, like you started to say, it's a midterm kind of conference. We last met in 2019 at our National Congress. So we are meeting this year in October to just assess in terms of how we would have moved to implement some of the resolutions that we took in 2019. One of them will be around the question of the certificate that we are talking about, the General Education Certificate, that the department want to issue for all learners would be moving out of grade 9, transiting into grade 10, the secondary schools. We argued at some stage in our country that our education system is very academic and it is not accommodating learners from with other different talents. So the intention of coming up with this certificate was to make sure that we are trying to introduce a three-stream model of education, an education system that will then be able to accommodate the different talents, potentials of our learners, being from not only academic, but look at vocational and occupational as well. So when we meet at the NGC, we'll have to report on what we would have done to make sure that we put the government under pressure such that it accommodates through this and the issuing of the General Education Certificate and also introducing a three-model stream of education when we move forward. Another issue that we will have to look will be to look at the state of educators, our members in the country, their wellness, their well-being. I mean, if we want to deliver quality education in our country, the state of our teachers will have to be something that we foreground. It will be from the question of their psychosocial conditions. I mean, with the COVID effect on them, the workload on them, the class sizes on them, all those pressures, the administrative burden on them, all those are affecting the kind of work that they are doing. So when we meet at the NGC, even their salaries, their conditions of work will have to be something that we'll have to discuss when we meet at the NGC.
What about the poor state of, infrastructure? I know a concern for you as well being, the overcrowding of classrooms. Why do we still have an issue where pupils and learners and teachers are still working under these poor conditions?
It's very, very unfortunate, more especially if you look at the conditions at the far-flung rural areas. I mean, these children all have a constitutional right to education. And therefore, government should by now have created a conducive environment for these learners, all of them, irrespective of where they are coming from, irrespective of their socio-economic conditions, whether you are poor or rich. All children of this country should be entitled to quality education. And therefore, it's unfortunate that up to now, we still have children in some of the areas being taught. I look at the story yesterday, some of them being taught in a bus, for instance, some of them not having ablution facilities, and so on and so forth. The environment at times is not even safe in some of these schools there. And we spoke about overcrowding. I mean, some schools teaching learners up to 80 learners in a classroom. And we still expect teachers to perform miracles under those conditions. So when we meet at the NGC, we will have to say what else could be done to put government under pressure such that they do respond to the question of delivering this kind of infrastructure where learning and teaching can take place.
Yes. Nkosana, when you speak of putting government under pressure, is government not listening? Are they not acting fast enough? Are they not considering all the recommendations that you as a very important stakeholder being Sadtu to them, are bringing to the fore? What do you think informs the slow pace that we're seeing from government?
Look, we do talk to them. We engage them. They seem to be listening, but the question remains the question of implementation. In some instances, it's a question of corruption as well, because at times budgets are available to build schools and so on and so forth, but you don't seem to get them built, either through how these people are procuring and all this process of tendering kind of system, do delay, in some instances, the building of schools and so on and so forth. But even if they do build the schools, the conditions in some instances are not good kind of conditions. So we can't then just say that they're not listening. They do listen, but the question of implementation remain a challenge. So we will have to look at what else we can do to make sure that they do implement and make sure that our schools, more especially in the rural areas, are changed for the better.
Well, I appreciate you speaking to me about this. Of course, Sadtu Deputy General Secretary Nkosana Dolopi joining me this morning, saying there's an important national general meeting expected in October where they will be tabling some of these concerns, but also recommendations to government, but also tracking how far they are in terms of implementation from the previous meeting. Thank you so much, Nkosana, for your time.